Good evening. Welcome to News Night. We're live from our studios at Northridge in Accra. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Here are stories making headlines tonight. Former President John Dramani Mahama addresses the nation in an attempt to get the country's leadership to act appropriately, claiming Ghana is at a crossroad. Chiefs and imams in the Greater Accra regional capital of Accra begin a campaign to fight against illicit drugs as Muslims in Ghana join others around the world to mark the end of Ramadan. Coming up in business, government reveals the Destination Ghana campaign aimed at improving tourism is expected to break in some $2.3 billion annually by close of the year. And on the international front, the United States Embassy in Ukraine hopes to return to Kyiv by the end of May if conditions permit, after fleeing the war-torn country early February. Details are up shortly. Stay with us. And we begin from here as some imams in the Greater Accra region have begun a campaign to fight against illicit drugs, vigilantism and other forms of vices in the Zongo communities. The leaders made the call at the forecourt of Parliament as they marked the end of Ramadan with prayers.
The Zongo communities are mostly the densely populated areas in Ghana, with predominantly Muslims as inhabitants. Opinion leaders in these communities are often worried about the negative stereotyping of people living there, especially on issues of crime. The leadership of the communities are also not happy about how youth in these areas abuse drugs and are always the target for some politicians who recruit them for their parochial political interest. According to them, the use of illicit drugs in these communities are the reasons for increased vigilantism and other forms of vices in the Zongos. The Deputy National Chief Imam of the Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Sheikh Mohammed Kamel Muhammad, at a prayer to end the Ramadan fasting, urged chiefs and opinion leaders in the Zongo communities to lead the fight against drug consumption in Zongo communities.
The problem facing the Ummah, especially the youth, can be summarized under using of drugs. The problem facing the Ummah, especially the youth, can be summarized under the using of drugs, drug abuse, and its related activities like smoking, alcoholism, adultery, somebody and narcotics, cocaine, and use of weed. These activities are on the rise in our society and affecting society negatively and gradually.
According to the Imam, over many of the youth in these Zongo communities are drug addicts.
Muna son jama'a ku yi hakuri kwarai da gaske. Yau Allah ya kawo mu ne mu taimaki kanmu da kanmu. Kar mu tsaya muna jiran wani ya taimake mu na amana.
He advised the youth in the Zongo communities to focus on their education, since they can contribute towards the eradication of such negative vices.
Let's still stay with the Eid celebrations as Muslim leaders in Kumasi have hinted that there will be heavy security presence at most Eid grounds in the region tomorrow to ensure the safety of all and sundry during their prayers.
Addressing the media at the Kumasi Central Mosque ahead of the Eid al-Fitr celebration to outline measures to ensure incident-free Eid celebration in Kumasi, the leaders entreated the youth to be each other's keeper and allow peaceful coexistence as they make merry. He revealed that a team of personnel from the police, military, and NIB officials would be deployed to maintain law and order, adding that those with plans of causing mayhem will be dealt with.
We are calling upon our own people, to desist from carrying any other weapon, be it a knife or otherwise. Because the security forces are on the ground. The BNI are on the ground. The security forces, even the military, will be there, to maintain peace and to see to it that peace is being observed within this short period. This is why we are coming out to let the people know that it is a day that we are going to make a merrymaking. After 30 days of an exercise, Ramadan, that today is that we are going to celebrate the Eid.
In a related development, the Muhadimi of Zongo community in the Ashanti region, Al-Haji Ali Suraj, who doubles as the staffer at the office of the Vice President, organized an iftar to climax the end of the Ramadan. He called for peaceful coexistence among all political divide in the Zongo communities.
People were thinking that Ramadan festival. People were thinking that they were waiting to see Tilawat al-Quran. People were waiting to see the iftar. People want to see that you are doing something that will touch the heart of the next generation. We're not talking about today, we're talking about the next generation. We are the next generation. We are the leaders of tomorrow. Our action today will testify what tomorrow will be. So my prayer is all the youths should come down and have patience, respect. We need to educate ourselves.
Some of the Muslim youth who spoke to Metro News resolved to make Zongo a better place for all, devoid of violence and social vices.
The concept of Eid is to thank Allah for a successful 30 days of fasting. Why should we just go and engage in things that are against our religion? These are the kind of things that project our religion as bad. So in this case, I'm calling on all my colleagues, my brothers and sisters, we should just try and go according to the teachings of Islam and avoid anything that will tarnish our image.
It's the God who makes the leader. So we are trying to educate each and every one of us. If you can see, here is the vicinity of Aswati constituency of Honorable Muntaka Mubarak. If you put a ballot box today in here, now, NDC will win here. But look at who is organizing here. It's the MPP man who is organizing, and look at how people are happily. Look at how we are celebrating. So I think that is our aim.
Meanwhile, hundreds of Muslims within the Amasam and Sonitra area located in the Ga West municipality showed up today to participate in the Eid prayer session to climax a 30-day fasting.
As at 8:30 a.m., hundreds had gathered at Amasaman to observe the Eid prayers, which is a significant day in the Islamic calendar as it commemorates the official end of the 30-day Ramadan fast. In his sermon after the prayers, Imam of the mosque, Sheikh Ismail Akono, urged Ghanaian Muslims to uphold the values and moral lessons learned throughout the fasting period.
The Ramadan is just like a school. So whatever you did during the month of Ramadan, it is expected that after you have graduated from that workshop, you should put it into practicality. It has to be seen in your life. If you've gone through a workshop, orientation for 30 days, you are transformed. You felt that you were close to Allah. Okay, you were generous, you were kind. Why should you go back to those bad iniquities again? You felt that spiritually you were uplifted. You felt some happiness in your heart. So why should you go back to those iniquities again? So it is very important that we remain steadfast, on the things that we study. Of course, we are human beings. Sometimes you cannot leave everything instantly, but gradually you can, intend to improve.
Some management committee members of the Masjid No Mosque also shared their experiences throughout the fasting period.
We give thanks to Almighty Allah that He has brought us this far. And then I thank everybody in this community. We pray for the president, his team. Yeah, they should do well. They should do well. I wish them all Barakat Sallah. For me, I have learned patience and endurance. And I think I will live with it for the rest of my life. We are all waiting for this day, and the day has come. And then we are all happy. Everybody should be happy. And then families, everybody to come together. You understand? That makes us one people. We should carry on with good deeds. The good deeds would bring us out as one people.
After Ramadan, we hope and pray that inshallah we'll continue with the lessons that we have learned from the Ramadan. We'll continue with the night prayers. We'll continue with a lot of voluntary prayers. We'll continue with a lot of patience. And then we'll continue a lot of alms giving to us. We have given a lot of alms during Ramadan. alhamdulillah, so that at least that will keep us closer to Allah, inshallah, till the next Ramadan. To that we'll have another opportunity again, inshallah, to experience this wonderful period.
Ramadan and the Eid prayers also afford Muslims an opportunity to renew their spiritual vows with Almighty Allah and seek His favors in the coming years.
Away from that, former President John Dramani Mahama is currently addressing Ghanaians at a lecture themed Ghana at a Crossroads. The former president, in a Facebook post, stated that Ghana is at a crossroads and demands that leadership must listen to the people and act appropriately. Let's cross over for a live feed.
Wow. Steadfast to build together a nation strong in unity, with our gifts of mind and strength of arm, whether night or day, in mist or storm, in every need, whatever the call may be, to serve thee, Ghana, now and forevermore. This stanza calls for a nation strong in unity and enjoins us with our gift of mind and strength of arm to serve our motherland, Ghana, now and forevermore. This is a call to service to our motherland, a call requiring that every one of us, regardless of background, religion, ethnicity, profession, political orientation, economic status, age, or gender, must unite while offering the gifts of our mind and the strength of our arm. Sitting on the fence is not an option in nation building. History will not remember us kindly if we accept the gradual degradation of our society and do not make any attempt to inspire ourselves to make a difference in our generation. Countrymen and women, Ghana, our dear nation, is at a crossroad, and we must tarry a while and reflect deeply on the road that we must take. The wrong choice would lead us down an easy path of chaos and destruction. The right choice will lead us up a path of prosperity and dignity, but go with hard work and sacrifice. My fellow Ghanaians, I can assure you that as our forebears did in the past, if we come together united as one, there is no task that is insurmountable. The future is bright if we rebuff those who seek to divide us for their personal gain, and if we open the opportunities of our country to all our citizens, irrespective of ethnicity, political affiliation, age, or gender. 30 years have passed since President John Rawlings, of blessed memory, appended his signature to the newly drafted Constitution of 1992, which made an irrevocable commitment to a return to democratic and constitutional governance. In the period preceding that moment, which set in motion what has turned out to be the most stable and enduring period of governance in our history, we had plunged from the heights of being the Black Star of Africa, from the lofty ambitions of the post-independence era, to the depths of economic catastrophe, institutional decay, corruption, and despondency. Our life as a nation had been checkered with multiple governance experiments alternating between civilian and military administrations. The several starts and stops led to a situation where by the 1980s, our circumstances were indeed intractable. After a decade of stabilization by the then PNDC regime, which involved confronting and overcoming such problems as economic recession, hyperinflation, prolonged droughts, devastating bushfires, shortage of basic commodities, among other serious socioeconomic problems, it became clear enough that the broad masses of the Ghanaian people yearned for a return to democratic governance. Thus began the process to fulfill their genuine aspirations through a participatory and inclusive approach. The product of that process is the 1992 Constitution. It ushered in the Fourth Republic and set us apart from our peers in the sub-region as having perhaps the most advanced democracy in West Africa, and I dare say one of the very best in Africa. The Constitution itself was a remarkable piece of work that contained elaborate provisions which captured and guaranteed the fundamental human rights of all Ghanaians, including those of free speech, and association. It had extensive provisions on media freedom and offered directive principles of state policy around which governance was to be conducted. The Constitution also laid down a governance framework which emphasized checks and balances with the creation of independent state institutions with clear mandates to work towards the consolidation of democratic governance and the protection of people's rights. And best of all, it was a constitution drawn up by the mass of our people, including teachers, nurses, fishermen, farmers, security personnel, butchers, traders, hairdressers, through the process of a consultative assembly. With democratic governance fully restored, we surge forward together in the journey of nationhood with the hope and aspiration that the misfortunes of our past were well and truly behind us, and that the tentative steps we took then would ultimately deliver the progress we desired. 30 years after these events I've narrated, our country, Ghana, stands as a crossroad. Since the first elections were held under the Fourth Republic some 30 years ago, there have been 3 changes in government. Each of these changes has been heralded by expectations of better governance, leading to tangible improvements in the socio-economic conditions of our people. The NPP government came into office in January 2017 on the back of mouth-watering promises of almost instant transformation of our country. Amid countless slogans, President Akufo-Addo did promise to transform Ghana in 18 months, if voted for. Yes, he promised to turn around the fortunes of Ghana and create opportunities for all, and he charged all of us to be citizens and not spectators. A significant number of our citizens associated the promises with good and noble intentions. In return, and despite our best efforts, the Ghanaian people offered the NPP a clear mandate in 2017 to steer the affairs of our dear country. An assessment of our current conditions showed that what is happening now bears very little or no resemblance to what was promised. There's a sharp disparity between promise and practice. Today, most Ghanaians feel they were hoodwinked, and this is manifesting in their personal livelihoods and their daily struggles. Perhaps the most defining challenge of our time is making our economy work for everybody. Over the last several months, our political space and societal reaction has been dominated by discussions on the challenges with introducing even more taxes. These conversations have taken place against the backdrop of unparalleled cronyism, nepotism, and breaches of the basic tenets of conflict of interest, transparency, and accountable governance, and misplaced spending by the president and his inner circle. On top of these is the subjugation of independent constitutional bodies to the whims and caprices of the president and his cronies. The painful epiphany is that in Ghana today, the frustrations of Ghanaian people is at an all-time high. We're well and truly at a crossroad that is acutely complicated by the doubt and fear experienced by our next generations, that they face a future that carries no expectation of success in their lives. For most Ghanaians, the feeling of despondency and hopelessness is real and personal. It is exacerbated by a dangerous trend of growing inequality and lack of upward social and economic mobility, in addition to a calculated effort at constraining social justice. Interestingly, the condescending responses from government officials to public complaints have often accentuated the frustration and anger of the people. A government bereft of ideas has resorted to incarceration of critical voices, name-calling of citizens, and unfair categorization of the labor force and huge numbers of unemployed youth as lazy and undeserving. Worst of all, government has been using chaotic shouts and insincere technical analysis laden with dubious comparisons and outright untruths to manage the narrative. Another worrying trend is the bastardization of independent constitutional bodies, obfuscating their objectivity and introducing deliberate constraints on their ability to act independently and in accordance with the mandate bestowed on them by the Constitution. This deliberate strategy has resulted in heavily politically colored and conflicted persons assuming positions within such institutions, alongside the swift dismissal of persons who have dared to act in an independent and fair manner. And here one can mention the Domelovos of our time. The cumulative effect of these travesties is an unparalleled and lack of substantive accountability in the management of our national affairs. On the economic front, Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP pledged to transform Ghana within 18 months, as I said, grow our economy at double digits, reduce borrowing, ensure fiscal discipline, bring down the cost of living, lower taxes, and protect the public purse. They promised also to move Ghana from taxation to production. In effect, none of this has been achieved. Instead, Ghanaians have been subjected to excruciating hardship and deprivation resulting directly from the mismanagement of the economy by a government that lacks the humility to accept responsibility and the capacity to appropriately diagnose the root causes of the challenges that have brought us here. Rather, they constantly seek to impose on us their version of the economic reality, denying that food prices have gone up, insisting that the business climate is very favorable, virulently protesting the evidence that their investments in meaningful capital expenditure is insignificant, and ignoring glaring evidence of unprecedented levels of corruption and breaches of internationally acclaimed standards of social justice. This government contests even the most basic and glaring set of facts. This should never have been the case for a government that has been fortunate to receive far more resources in the last 5 years than almost all governments before them under the Fourth Republic put together. Despite this fortune, today, the Ghanaian economy ranks amongst the worst managed in the world. It is characterized by unsustainable public debt due to an unprecedented fiscal deficit, comparatively high and still rising inflation, a rapidly depreciating currency, spiraling cost of doing business, ever-rising cost of living, high levels of corruption, abuse of civil and human liberties, and a general loss of investor confidence. Simply put, our country is on the verge of bankruptcy. In spite of the firm promise to reduce borrowing, this government has increased our public debt to almost 380 billion Ghana cedis as of the end of the first quarter of 2022. This is more than 3 times the debt of all governments since the days of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah put together up to January 2017. A direct consequence of this astronomical borrowing is that our debt service obligations per annum has increased by 500%, from 10 billion Ghana cedis, which it was in 2016, to about 50 billion Ghana cedis now. We are at a great risk of defaulting on our debt repayments unless something drastic is done. To be clear, despite the heavy politicization of debts by the current administration while in opposition, the real problem we face is not just because of the daunting large size of the debt in terms of value. Rather, it is the stark reality that these huge levels of borrowing have not gone into infrastructure and capital investment, but have been applied largely to consumption and in some cases even misapplied. This heavy borrowing has not been met by commensurate and significant improvement in the size of our economy and its productivity to ease repayment of the debts in future. My brothers and sisters, an important and yet very disturbing variable, often ignored in our national discourse about the debt situation, is the corresponding ballooning of government's indebtedness to local businesses and other statutory bodies, including SOEs. These issues must occupy an important space within national discourse because our estimation is that government's liabilities to local businesses and other stakeholders exceed 30 billion Ghana cedis. Arising directly from the excessive borrowing to fund consumption-related expenditure is the harsh truth that more than half of what government collects in taxes is used to service debt, with the remainder going almost exclusively into public sector wages and salaries. This has created self-inflicted rigidities that leave very little space for investment in other important areas of the economy. The effect of this is that government is unable to meet its spending obligations in the most critical sectors of the economy, on which the livelihoods of millions of our people depend. It is little wonder, therefore, that out of a total annual collection of 2.1 billion under the National Health Insurance Levy, as at end of 2021, only 127 million Ghana cedis, which is about 6% of the amount, had been released to the authority. This is stifling the ability of healthcare providers in the private and public sector to provide adequate care for the mass of our people. My brothers and sisters, in the hands of a more responsible and prudent administration, the resources that have been available to this administration should have resulted in quantum leaps in the standard of living of Ghanaians, and we should have recorded major progress as a nation. After inheriting a stable economy that was programmed and poised for rapid growth from early 2017, this government has squandered its way into a ditch from which it has become impossible to emerge without imposing even deeper hardship and suffering on the Ghanaian people. The minimum expectation was that the MPP government will build on the strong foundation that had been bequeathed them and achieve incremental progress over what they met. They have instead carried out a demolition exercise of that foundation and left our economy in quicksand, sinking at an alarming rate. However, now we know that responsibility and prudence are not concepts that appear to be appreciated by this government. As we speak, the cash crunch arising out of the rigidities in the economy is having a devastating toll on almost all sectors of our national life. Let's take the education sector, for instance. At the basic level, capitation grants have been in arrears for nearly a year. Textbooks have not been supplied to basic school pupils for 3 straight years. At the SHS level, lengthy delays in the release of funds have crippled the free SHS program, compelling key stakeholders like CHAS and NAT to issue ultimatums to government. There have been widespread reports of food shortages and nutrition deficient poor quality food in schools across the country. The academic calendar has become erratic due to non-availability of funds to run the schools. At the tertiary level, UTAG recently just ended a protracted strike action to call on government to honor its commitments on salary rationalization and better conditions of service. The UTAG strike severely undermined teaching and learning on our various campuses. College of Education students have spent more time at home than in school because of the lack of funds, and trainee allowances have been in arrears for several months amidst threats by school authorities to shift the cost of feeding onto students in the absence of timely release of funds by government. The government's mismanagement of the GET fund has not helped matters in the education sector. Similar liquidity challenges permeate all sectors of the economy. Elsewhere, the District Assembly Common Fund still stands in arrears of several quarters, endangering our accumulated mileage in local government administration. LEAP beneficiaries who depend on a very meager quarterly stipend for survival have also in recent times been denied access to these payments for many months, condemning them to intense and perilous hardships. As I said, NHIS service providers are owed several months' arrears and are sparingly paid for their service, This is due to the illegal diversion or misapplication of attributable funds. Related to this is the reckless collateralization of various funds to satisfy current consumption needs. And worst of all, the government's expressed desire to collateralize more of such funds. They've collateralized the energy sector levy until 2035. They've collateralized almost 10 billion of GET fund revenue through the so-called 7-year Dache bond. And after mortgaging all the family property, they are desirous of selling off the remaining family cutlery, the small spoons and knives left, by collateralizing our mineral revenue through the dubious Ejapa deal. And it is suspected that they are in the process of collateralizing the revenues from the recently implemented e-levy. Countrymen and women, yesterday at the May Day address, the President stated that it is not possible to remove taxes off petroleum products because it will result in an inability to pay public sector and wages. He said that if these taxes were removed, there will be a shortfall of 4 billion in revenue collected, and as a result, they will not be able to pay wages. What he did not tell the workers was that some of those taxes cannot be removed because they've been collateralized and the money has already been spent. The Energy Sector Levy Act, when it was introduced by my administration, had a 5-year lifespan to pay down legacy energy costs, energy debts. Today, ESLA cannot be removed as a part of our petroleum price buildup because this government has spent the money up front and has collateralized it till 2035, as I told you. This entirely unwholesome practice of concealing debt through the collateralization of statutory funds for the contraction of loans must be curtailed, because hidden debts have never helped anyone, let alone a nation. Hidden debts will catch up with you, as it has the effect of increasing the public debt while creating a false sense of security, because those debts ostensibly sit on the books of state-owned enterprises or special purpose vehicles. For example, whereas the Bank of Ghana in its latest summary of economic and financial data pegged our public debt at 351.8 billion Ghana cedis, and therefore stated that we had a debt to GDP ratio of 80.1% at the end of 2021. The actual debt stood at 362 billion Ghana cedis. When you factor into the equation debts sitting in the name of GET Fund, ESLA, and Sino Hydro, they deliberately left this out to give a lower picture, and this is what this government has been doing since they came into office. Thankfully, the strong will of the people, civil society, and the NDC legislators applied the brakes to the Ejapa deal. We must be determined to defeat the Ejapa deal if they resurrect it. This can only be the action of an Ejaboni and not an Ejapa.
That was former President John Dramani Mahama there. We'll definitely bring you more of that lecture in our subsequent bulletin. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has signed a memorandum of understanding with Expertise France to help combat the rising numbers of human trafficking in the country. Out of a population of about 31 million, an alarming 133,000 people are estimated to be living in modern-day slavery in Ghana.
Part of the word, the productivity challenge you have is more of behavioral, is the behavior of the labor, human beings, employees, management, and maybe union. Yes, the way we go about things. When there grievances, when there are misunderstanding, instead of management. In our part of the world, the productivity challenge you have is more of behavioral. It's the behavior of the labor, human beings, employees, management, and maybe union. Yes, the way we go about things. When there are grievances, when there are misunderstanding, instead of management and union and labor sitting down to resolve, sometimes everybody takes a entrenched position, and thereby leading to strikes and then unrest. And we lose a lot of time and hours. You can never go back to redeem the time. The best you could do is to labor and management decide to work overtime. Yes, and even that overtime also has its effect on the equipment and then the labor. So once we decide to go on strike, we are losing productivity. We are losing time. We are losing effort. We are losing everything. So it affects how much we produce in this country.
According to Chief Consultant and Management Development Trainer at the Management Development and Productivity Institute, John Mensah, strikes are inevitable, but so are the loss in productivity.
Ultimately, you get what you want. I believe that they should continue working whilst they negotiate.
Right, and there should be no end to negotiations. This is what a management and productivity expert says should exist between labor, employers, government, and stakeholders with regards to labor unrest. In this feature, we recap a number of labor agitations in the country since 2021.
Human trafficking is a global phenomenon that one way or the other affects each country in the world. Over the past few years, Ghana has been known to be a source, transit, and destination country for men, women, and children subjected to forced labor and sex trafficking. The government of Ghana has taken several steps to address human trafficking in the country, which includes the 1998 Children's Act 560, the 2005 Human Trafficking Act, amongst others. In a quest to help in the human trafficking fight, the European Union has funded a Human Trafficking Secretariat and Trauma-Informed Care Center in the country. The project is supported by Expertise France. The Chief Executive Officer of Expertise France, Jeremy Pellet, called on all stakeholders to ensure the economic stability of the Ghanaian population to avoid seeking greener pastures.
Other threats like climate change, community conflicts, push part of the population to seek better living conditions elsewhere in the region. Hence, the urgent need to improve the cooperation at the regional level on this issue. And that requires everyone's commitment. So against that background, developing common synergies constitutes for all of us an essential and priority pillar in the construction of a human, economic, and security environment that protects efficiently all the population.
The European Union ambassador to Ghana reiterated that the fight against human trafficking must continue to help protect possible victims and protect their future.
Because this phenomenon, this scourge, deprives the little Ekuas, the little Kojos, the little Ashiatos from their dreams, from their lives, from their future. This destroys a generation, but this weakens as well the fragility and the stabilities of countries and regions.
The Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Hadja Lariba Abudu, believes the commissioning of the Human Trafficking Secretariat is very timely.
The building has come at the right time, as they say, better late than never, when victims' care is central to combating human trafficking. Issues of human trafficking continues to be a human rights violation and a canker in our society that must be eliminated.
A memorandum of understanding was signed after the inauguration.
Business News is next. With the launch of Destination Ghana by President Akufo-Addo, Deputy Minister of Tourism Mark Okreku Mante has disclosed that the initiative is targeting some $2.3 billion injection into the tourism sector. He was speaking on the sidelines of the 5th Ghana Business Leaders Excellence Awards in Accra.
President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in April launched Destination Ghana in the United Kingdom, a campaign aimed at attracting tourists from the United Kingdom, Europe and the rest of the world to Ghana annually following a successful year of return campaign 3 years ago. The campaign is under the auspices of the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, the Ghana High Commission UK and the Ghana Tourism Authority, aimed at building on the success of Ghana's year of return campaign, which attracted many people from the diaspora to Ghana. Speaking about the launch, Deputy Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Mark Okreku Mante, expressed optimism in the Destination Ghana campaign.
Last year was better than 2019 because and last year it was erratic. Occasionally came across to us like as if COVID was gone, and then it comes up. But this year we can assure you that now that President Akufo-Addo is saying that it is not mandatory to wear mask, I think it's not just Ghana. It's become flexible a bit. We can assure you that with Destination Ghana launched, we are expecting a bigger boom by end of year.
He added that government is targeting some $2.3 billion economy boost.
We are eyeing, our target is about $2.3 billion. And so I do not know these things are going to come up, but I think I do not have the numbers that the amount is going to correlate. But the target is open $2.3 billion thereabout. Yeah. With this target, it means that we need to work extra hard. And that is why President Akufo-Addo has launched Destination Ghana. The agenda is that we promoted year of return in the Caribbean and the USA. We did not do UK and then Europe and the peripherals. And so President Akufo-Addo decided that, okay, let's go launch this fall, so that when we have the Americans and the diasporans from South America or the Caribbean coming, now we can increase the numbers with the European markets as well. And that is why President went to launch Destination Ghana, all to be able to meet our targets.
The International Monetary Fund is forecasting Ghana's debt to GDP ratio to be 84.6% by the end of 2022. According to its April 2022 fiscal monitor report, the country's total debt was estimated at 81.8% of GDP in 2021, higher than the 80.1%, approximately 351.8 billion Ghana cedis quoted by the Bank of Ghana. The IMF said the country's debt to GDP ratio will increase from 84.6% in 2022 to 88.4% in 2026, before falling to 87.4% in 2027. But prior to that, it will record relatively same debt to GDP ratio of 84% in 2022 and 2023, and later surge to 85% and 86% in 2024 and 2025 respectively. The rise in debt may constrain government financing and as a result affect capital expenditure unless government moves fast to shore up revenue, of which the IMF describes the future as promising. The government will also have to intensify its expenditure rationalization program to ensure there is value for money projects, whilst leakages within the system are blocked. The fund is projecting Ghana's tax revenue to GDP ratio to increase in 2022 to 16.5% from 14.7% in 2021. This will be a vast improvement compared to the rates registered during the last 10 years. In 2023 and 2024, the country's tax to GDP ratio will, however, fall to 16% and 16.2% respectively. Ghana's public debt stock rose to 351.8 billion Ghana cedis in December 2021 from 344.5 billion Ghana cedis in November 2021, which is about 80.1% of gross domestic product. According to figures from the Bank of Ghana, about 730 million fresh loans were added to the total public debt stock in December 2021. We'll be back from the break with the latest in sports, entertainment, and international news. Stay tuned. sports tonight, a multi-purpose artificial astro pitch has been commissioned at Spintex with the aim of promoting healthier lifestyles. Known as the Spintex Astro, the facility has been constructed for both sporting and social functions.
Located within Spintex, a suburb of the nation's capital, the latest multi-purpose Astro pitch, known as Spintex Astro, was built to serve resident and corporate firms for their various social functions. The artificial pitch facility, which is well fenced with electrical protection system, also has changing rooms, offices, therapy session, and some spacious sitting areas for patrons and expected spectators. Constructed by Birch Ghana Limited, the facility management led by Jeffrey Crowe can also host a 7-a-side football match, which is also aimed at promoting healthier lifestyle.
We believe that when the mind and the body works in unison, then the individual is poised to face any challenges in the world. So that's essentially one way to give back to the community, facelift the community, and also to ensure that people are having options in life as far as career choices are concerned. And I encourage actually various communities to also embrace this concept, because we are training the body and the mind to give ourselves options in life. So yeah, anybody can do this. I live in this community, and so for me it was a way of giving back to the community, essentially. I would say that.
Speaking at the commission of the new facility, various speakers commended the owners for their vision and the idea to support the community through the facility. The Nwa Mancha, Professor King Odaifio, who later did the official first kick on the page, urged the facility managers to ensure a good maintenance culture.
I would like to end by stating one thing that is always core to my heart whenever I honor invitations to outdoor or open new edifices in any form or shape. It has to do with maintenance, and I repeat, maintenance. Our maintenance culture as a people is very poor, and we all know this is a fact. I therefore urge management to put in place the strictest of controls to safeguard assets, protect and improve the buildings and structures, and also tidy up the environment at all times.
Former Greater Accra Regional Minister Nilai Afute Agbo later spoke to Metro Sports on the Spintex Astro effigy.
I think this facility is a very good one. I think it has even pushed me to organize a similar thing in my community, because I thought we can only do it on a bigger park, but on a normal size of park. But with what I've come to witness today, I think we can do it at so many locations within our communities, so that the youth, by way of exercising themselves, we can also get some talented people amongst them.
Entertainment news is next. Satirist KSM is calling on Ghanaian pastors to give what he believes belongs to Caesar, At the back of some pastors supporting the e-levy, the Ghanaian satirist is calling on them to practice what they preach by also paying tithe from the tithe they contribute from their church members. Mr. Kweku Sintim Misa addressed this concern to the Christian Council of Ghana in a post he shared on social media, and it says, "Dear Christian Council, kindly donate 10% of all the tithe churches collected for the GRA. Let's call it the e-tithe. Support the e-levy for GH to become like Europe. Practice what you preach," he tweeted. Yesterday was the premiere of the much-anticipated Ghanaian movie, Red Carpet.
It's finally here, the 1st of May 2022, and we are here at the Silverbird Cinemas inside the Accra Mall for the premiering of the long-awaited and much anticipated Red Carpet movie. And trust me, you should be here to see. This is just the red carpet, actually, just before everybody gets to, get inside there.
Rome was not built in a day. So take your time and don't rush, because the youth of today, there's so much in a rush to make it to the tops, like within an hour. Life is not like that. It's gradual steps. So take your time, step by step. You get there gradually.
Being a celebrity, I think
in every talent you have, I think it's God-given. Sometimes, you know, you look at a child and the things they do, you are able to tell that they'll become this or that. It's a long journey. It's a very difficult journey. It's not an easy journey. It doesn't come short. If you jump the steps, you would fall out of the steps. You need to take your time. Take one step at a time. If you really want to be an actor or an actress, check yourself. Act on camera. Show yourself. Use the mirror as a camera. And if you feel that this is what you really want to do, go to school. When you finish school, come and join us. And then take your time.
I've never done any other thing besides filmmaking. So telling a story that has to do with filmmaking was something else. It was like living my life, all of my experience and what it is what I told. Are you getting the point? I told it in a way that even though I was making a fiction, you can see an element, not just an element, you can see the power of reality in what I was telling. Because
Thank you very much for watching Newsnight tonight. My name is Kenneth. Bye for now.